China. I was a baby when I was involved in a fire that took place there, and shortly after I lost my life in that fire, I was left on the street and abandoned and found at a 1.5 years old. And I was taken to the local government orphanage in Nanjing and lived there for the next 7 years of my life, enduring some really difficult hardships, some trauma, a lot of pain during that time. We lived extremely isolating lives in that orphanage. I never went outside once in 7 years. We didn't have access to television, books, music, radio, no access to the outside world. And so I grew up in that place thinking that all kids grew up in the same environment or live under the same circumstances and the same situation. I really didn't know that the way I grew up was very unusual. And I can remember being a young girl there thinking that I would never make it out. And so I was obviously close to that age before I came here to America, but lived extremely isolating lives and just a feeling of such despair. But as I mentioned earlier, we didn't know another way of life, and that was all I knew. And I think the valuable thing that I gained in my almost 8 years living in that orphanage, enduring child labor and physical abuse and starvation, is that our ability to survive is innate. It's in our DNA to survive, but the will to triumph and to persevere is something that's learned. It's not innate. You have to develop those skills. And for me, I can't even say what it was at that time, and I know now, but at the time I didn't know. The desire and the drive that I had to keep going, to look at my situation and say, I don't know that I'm ever going to make it out, but I'm going to continue to live and look at me growing up. Maybe all those things were true. Maybe I didn't go on. And so I graduated UCLA and got a job working for a medical device company, and it was a phenomenal first job out of college, and I was making pretty decent money, but I felt empty. I felt something was missing in my life, and I realized it was running. And I needed to get back to my passion. I needed to follow that and to see that dream through. And you know, for me, one of the things I'm involved with CAF is mentoring a lot of young kids that have physical challenges. And I didn't want them to see that their role model, their hero, had tried out for her first Paralympic team and failed and decided just to quit after that. Like, what example, what role model am I to them if that's the example I'm leading? And so I decided I would recommit myself and give everything I had, and left my job, like a stable, solid job. And I was going to move myself down to San Diego and live out of my car and on my friends' couches, several couches, for almost 6 months until I could get my feet underneath me. And it was in that time that I did the really hard work. I suffered, I struggled, and I said, it's okay to be here. I'm okay with this. And in that time, I ended up breaking American records, world records, and suddenly I was getting to the top. But I'm here to tell you that story and that experience in sport today because, in the moment of a setback, a trial, a bad day, maybe even a difficult season, it seems like a turn off the road to greatness, the end of a dream. But in actuality, your trials, your challenges, they are paving the path to excellence. So embrace it, dig deep, be uncomfortable, be willing to suffer, and incredible, amazing things can happen in your life when you're willing to go to those places. And I also want to share that there are so many situations and environments that we're involved in where we go after something, right? And we don't see people like us. We don't see people that look like us, talk like us, come from our backgrounds. And that's what I experienced when I was in sports, especially when I got involved in track and field. There's not really a lot of Asians that do sports on a professional level. You don't see them on ads on TV. And I remember going to a track meet and I signed up and getting the registration tent, and the lady said, oh, the stands are over here. I said, no, I'm here to come. Oh, you are? And a lot of that, and especially in Paralympics, at the time when I started doing Paralympics, women I mean, it was like a 60-40 ratio of male to females involved in Paralympics, and certainly very few minorities that were doing Paralympic sport, and that was part of why I was recruited. And you know, you can look at that situation and run from it and say, maybe this isn't for me. Or you can say, that's all the more reason I gotta be involved. And for me to get involved in sport, to run, to do track, I mean, still even, we have very few Asians, but you know what? You never know when it, you know, some boy or girl is gonna, you know, be somewhere and see something and say, that's what I wanna do. And so, I just want to tell you to embrace those things in your life, to embrace the differences, to be that person that sees somebody that's different than you, instead of being the coach that excludes, or you know, the colleague or the coworker say, we want you on our team, and you're here to play, and you're here to compete. And I think that that's the power of what you can do. And when you tell somebody that you're worthy, that you're enough, that you belong, it's just the beginning of all the incredible things they can do. And that's what the Challenge Athletes Foundation has given me. What we do for all of our athletes is we tell them that you're enough, you belong, and you're worthy. And just to be able to see how it transforms people's lives, those few things, that act alone is so powerful.